Hi everyone, I am Nakia. Welcome to another presentation. The title of this presentation is The Path To. So this presentation is a follow-up from The Path. That would be the original presentation. So this presentation will be a part two. So The Path To was created by myself. I am Nakia. And before I get started, before moving forward, I would like to say the information I will be presenting, including future presentations, is a work divinely inspired. And I, Nakia, am verbally stating my intention to protect this information and the fundamental integrity of it from all misuse, intentional or not, public or private, in its entirety, with all rights reserved, without restriction. In addition, all information created and shared by me, Nakia, regarding this divine work is and will continue to be protected by forces that operate in truth and balance. All misuse will be recompensed with equal measure. Now, to keep the integrity of this information intact, what we know today as artificial intelligence or AI was not used to create or build on this information in any form. If and or when that time does come, it is of great importance to ensure the same integrity being used to carry out the duty of this information to the people is the same used to build a system of artificial intelligence or any other systems of knowledge. Keep in mind, programming isn't only what we see, it also includes what we do not see, and a lot of what we do not know in large part is because of what we do not see. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Images within the star. So in the first presentation, the path, at the end of that presentation, I showed an image, and the image that I showed was the eight-pointed star being referenced as a Christmas tree. And so in this presentation, what the goal is just to kind of continue to explore images that can be seen within the star. And so here on this slide, here on the left is the eight-pointed star on its point, and on the right is what is known as the tree of life, or even the Kabbalistic tree of life, I think. And so here, what I'm showing the similarities between the eight-pointed star and the tree of life. So that one is pretty obvious, right? So here would be that circle. So this circle right here, or this hexagon right here, can be this part right here, right? And then, I mean, everything else. So these points right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the reason why, so the thing with this image is that it includes an extra like point or angle, right? So here with the eight-pointed star, but you can still see it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then if I was to count in the center, like it's being done here, so I wouldn't count here, right? But I would count here and then here. And then I already counted that point there. So so here I see 8 points outside. So if I was to count inside as they're doing here, then it just for further, clarifies, the fact that the eight-pointed star is the inspiration for the Kabbalistic tree of life, and possibly even other images that look similar to it. And then here on this slide is the eight-pointed star here. And then here over to the right are, a list of 2D shapes. And so what I'm doing here is I just kind of want to point out how the eight-pointed star can be seen as the inspiration and or the blueprint for these shapes. So here in the center would be the hexagon, or apologies, not the hexagon, but the octagon, right? So here is an octagon, and an octagon has 8 sides. So right here you see 8 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And the hectagon can also be seen as the inspiration for the circle, right? Because the circle doesn't have any sides, it's just a complete spherical shape. So, but so it, like it says here, it has one face and one side. Well, that's one way to see it. Okay, well, based on 2D, right? So 2D would mean it has two sides, right? If I'm not mistaken. So that means even though the one face is what I see, the 2D would be the other side, right? If I'm not mistaken, because 1D would be one side and then 2D would be two sides and 3D, three sides and so forth and so on. So I think I'm kind of, my thought process in that is probably correct, right? So so then the triangle here, down here. So here's a triangle. So if you start at the point right here and you kind of follow this line down and then you kind of move across here and you go back up here, there is the triangle. So now there are several triangles within the star, so big and small. And so this star, all four sides are the same. And so just like you see the triangle here, right here, right over here to the left. If you start here and follow this point down right here and then back up and then across, there is another triangle. So it literally has like maybe four larger size triangles and then within the star itself, smaller triangles. And then the rectangle would be right here. So here's a rectangle here at the bottom, one, and then one at the top, separated by the middle with the line. And then you can see one here on the side on the left, and then one here on the right. So one, two, three, and four. And then the oval, so I don't really see the oval within the star itself. However, it can be said that the circle would be the inspiration. So if the octagon is the inspiration for the circle, then the circle would be the inspiration for the oval. So therefore, the octagon will be the inspiration for the circle and or the oval. And so the rhombus is right here. So if you start here at the top and then you kind of go down right here and then cut right here at the middle and go down and then you go back up right here at the middle and then back up, right there would be your rhombus. And then the square is pretty obvious, right? You have four squares, one, two, three, four right there. And then you have that larger square right here, right? And then there's a square right here in the middle. And then the pentagon, you can see that. So a pentagon has five sides. And so a pentagon can be seen right here. So here you have one. So you have two sides. So remember, we're talking about four sides here. So on this side here is where you can see one of the pentagons. So here will be the bottom, one, and then up right here at the side, two, and then follow right here, three, and then follow back down here, four, and then five. So right here will be the octagon. So you have one here, one here, one here, and one here. And so, in actuality, the pentagon, those five sides, is actually within the six-pointed star. So it's within the eight-pointed star as a whole, right? But you also can see it in the six-pointed star when that's the only star that's being drawn out. So then you have the hexagon. So the hexagon has six sides. And so uh, I was kind of looking at this and I couldn't really like if I because the point is to stay true to form, right? As close as possible. You know, finding inspiration where I can find it within the stars. So I couldn't really make out the hexagon. I even looked at it from a larger perspective, and I couldn't really I'm not really able to see it so far. However, you know, it could be said because you see here with the hexagon, you got to start with that straight edge at the top, and then the sides kind of go out. And so, even when you look at it at its point, I still don't see it, at least not yet. And so I'm going to say that the hexagon, the six sides, would the octagon will be the inspiration for the hexagon, right? Because you can get six from eight, right? But you can't necessarily get eight from six, right? So, and then the heptagon, I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to use that same logic for the heptagon, which has seven sides. So you can get seven and six from eight, but you can't get seven, uh, but you cannot get eight from seven or six. So, and then the trapezoid. So the trapezoid is right here. So if you start right here, go from this point right here to this point right here, and then you go down the sides right here, and then across that there is the trapezoid. So four sides, one, two, three, and then four. So that's what I wanted. So that's what this slide is for, is to kind of point those 2D shapes out there. And then this slide here is to represent, it's pretty obvious, right? So down in the left corner or right corner, you see here what is known as the Baphomet. And so what I want to show you here is that the shape of the Baphomet is part of the eight-pointed star. So what everybody know as the Baphomet is indeed the eight-pointed star. Right? The eight-pointed star is the inspiration and the blueprint for the Baphomet. So here I kind of have it colored in so that it can just kind of to really kind of bring it out to you. And then here is just the outline. And so keep in mind, these are four sides. So this shape here can be seen on all four sides. Here is right here on the side right here to the right is right here if you draw it out, boom, boom, boom. And then on this side is right here if you draw it out right here, one, one, two, and then down and then back up. So it shows on all four sides. And so this doesn't take away from the reality that uh, people who knew this information, who know this information, has used this information for, let's say, nefarious purposes, right? And so the goal here throughout this process is to take back the power, right? To take back, and you take back the power by claiming on to the understanding, the origin of where things come from. You know, when you don't know where things come from and people don't know that you know where things come from or the origin of things, then people can inject spookism, you know, and that spookism can kind of send people's understanding of things into like a frenzy. So again, I'm not taking away from the fact, the reality that there are, you know, that the purposes for which this shape is being used for does not have a real life reality or touch or feel to it. I'm not taking away from that at all. All that I'm saying here is that the eight-pointed star is the inspiration for what we know to be the Baphomet. And so here is like the 5 points, or still like actually no, eight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here I'm just kind of show you how it really stands out here. So you can really see that Baphomet. And this can also be seen as a heart, right? Like so this can also be seen as the inspiration for the hearts, what we know to be the shape of a heart in drawing and in print. We all know that the heart that beats inside our chest does not look like the heart that we see in prints, right? So this can also be looked at as the inspiration for that print, you know, that heart shape. Of course, the heart shape is kind of has more smoother kind of appearance or outline. However, again, if with this being the blueprint, what that basically means is that this was the inspiration. So people knew this information and used this information to create outside of it the things that they wanted to create. And then here within the star is what we know to be the Bluetooth symbol. So you can see that here, right? And then here is the, um, ooh, I'm drawing a blank. This is a symbol that we all see a lot of. You can see it down here, the compass and the square. Thank you, the compass and the square. So the compass and the square, you can see that within the eight-pointed star. So it's pretty obvious, right? And so here I'm just kind of drawing it out based on this image here, right there. And then uh, here on this image within the star, continuing with the compass and the square, you can see that G in the center. So when you draw it out the way that I drew it out here, you can see here how the outline would form in the shape of a G. So that's where the G comes from within the compass and the square. And then here I just kind of have the Confucius symbol. So I'm showing here how, so here I kind of notice that this side here, I kind of put this up too far. So I actually should have put this down further. So it probably should have actually been down here and kind of should have went up right here and then out right here. So even still, you can still see the shape of it within the star. And then here, right here is what we know to be the Pisces, I think the fish, right? The Christian fish is, I think is what is commonly seen as this image right here. And so what I'm showing you here is how the eight-pointed star is the inspiration for this shape here, this image. And then here on this slide here, you can see how the ice cream. So you can see an ice cream here, right? So here is on the right is the an ice cream cone, a chocolate ice cream cone to be specific. And then here on this side, you can see the ice cream cone. So I found that one to be really interesting. So it's kind of like, dang, okay, so that's very interesting. And so this one right here, I want everyone to guess. Like, what do you think this one is right here? So this right here, you kind of started off here, right? And then it went here, right? So then tell me what y'all think this one is. What is this the inspiration for? As well as this one right here. So, what do y'all think the inspiration? Well, the eight-pointed star is the inspiration, right? However, what I'm saying is what art or image out there in the world is can be seen as um, uh, what image out there, so what do you see here? So like there are many images in the world that we live in. And so the point that I'm trying to make, so here the purpose of me showing these slides is to kind of show how the eight-pointed star was used as the inspiration, as the blueprint for many images that we see in the world. So I already showed you how the letters of the English alphabet are used, right? Or how you can draw that out on the eight-pointed star. So the M in McDonald's, right? That big M, right? You have that there, right? I mean, there are many, like even like, and I'm just calling out names because the point is, to put out the information. This right here is the truth, right? So like the letters, so all of the letters, so all of the companies, um, that use letters. So even us, even our names, are in order to spell out your name. Some of us that use the English alphabet, we use those characters in order to spell out our name. So what I'm saying here not only applies to, let's say, corporations that use these letters, it also applies to us as well. So nobody is being set aside or, casted to be pointed out as separate and apart. All of this comes back to one energy, one source, and that's the eight-pointed star. So tell me what you think this image. It can be seen as many. So tell me what you think that is. And then here I have the uh, North Star, right? Or a compass. And so here I'm showing you how the eight-pointed star is the inspiration for what we know to be the compass, or even the North Star. And then here, this looks like what we know to be like the Pac-Man, right? And so you can see that there. And then here is the power on and off button, right? So, and then here is the pyramid within the star. So I colored this in because when you look at this, when I look at it, I'm seeing it two different ways. I'm seeing it from the bottom, like if it was, so if, from the bottom, so if I was seeing it, so I see it I see it two ways. So one of the ways I see it is what it is, right? On this image here on the right, colored in blue. What I also sometimes what pops out to me is if I was standing up under it and I'm looking at it from the bottom up. So sometimes I see it that way as well. So, however, within the eight-pointed star is what we know to be a pyramid. And so here, right here, I just colored this in so that I can just kind of pull you into it or pull it out to you so that you can see it even more. And then here is like the shape of a house, right? So the many houses that we're living in, that like all houses aren't necessarily shaped like this, right? But this can be seen as the foundation, right? The blueprint for a lot of homes that are built out, right? And then here you can see three squares within this the star. So here I'm showing you basically the outline. So right here you have one and then two and then three. So three squares within the star. So here I just kind of colored that in. And then here is the what you call squaring the circle. So here I just kind of have a little a definition that I kind of did an internet search on when it comes to what it means to square the circle. And so here it says squaring the circle is a problem in geometry first proposed in Greek mathematics. It is the challenge of constructing a square with the area of a given circle by using only a finite number of steps with a compass and straight edge. The difficulty of the problem raised the question of whether specified axioms of Euclidean geometry concerning the existence of lines and circles implied the existence of such a square. In 1882, the task was proven to be impossible as a consequence of the Lindemann-Weierstrass theorem, which proves that pi is a transcendental number. That is, pi is not the root of any polynomial with rational coefficients. That sounds like a whole nother language, at least to me. It had been known for decades that the construction would be impossible if pi were transcendental, but that fact was not proven until 1882. Approximate constructions with any given non-perfect accuracy test or accuracy exists, and many such constructions have been found. And so here on this side, you can see here that pi symbol, right? So the pi symbol that we all know to be that the star, the eight-pointed star was the inspiration for this pi symbol. And so you can even see here where even them throwing out the question and questioning whether or not the square or squaring the circle or even the possibility of it was really a game because it's already been it was always there, right? It was always there. They had already squared the circle, or the circle was already squared a long time ago. So here you can see that, right? So, and then as far as the steps that go or the minimal steps required in order to square this circle and or the hexa octagon, it's all in the drawing out or following those numeric lines. So you would need to do the count on how you on when drawing out those numeric lines to determine the finite lines that would be required in order to square this circle. So what I'm showing you here is that this is drawing out the 8-pointed star using the numeric lines, and it's showing up the way that it is here is the squaring of the circle. Here's the circle and it's within the square. So you can see here, right here. So, and then here is a symbol that we are for the most part familiar with, the what can be known as a swastika. However, that is, this symbol had been used prior to that time period. Um, hold on for a second. So I just did an internet search on swastika history, and it says here the swastika is an ancient geometric symbol with a 5,000 plus year history, derived from the Sanskrit word. So it's spelled Svastika, meaning conducive to well being. It traditionally represented good luck, prosperity, and divinity across global cultures, including Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, Native American, and European societies. Before it was co opted by the Nazi Party in 1920, most users uh, agree that its pre modern usage was overwhelmingly positive and benign. So the name comes from the Sanskrit savas- savastika, su meaning good, and asti meaning to be. So to be good. So seeing this image is not, well, I'll leave it there. So here on this slide, here is the eye, right? So on the left is the outline, and on the right is the eye colored in. So we all know where we've seen the eye, right? So there's a many places where the eye is referenced. For example, you have the eye with the news network, right? I'll just say because I don't want to make anyone feel like they've been set apart here. But for those who have eyes, let them see, and for those who have ears, let them hear, right? So here you can see the eye. You can see if you notice when in the world that we live in, there are people when they have cameras on them, they are doing things where they're covering the eye. They're doing things that kind of puts a point like to put a focal point on the eye. And so now by seeing this information, knowing this information, there now you can kind of now you now you have another aspect of being able to see it, right? So again, like I said, the goal here is to like take the mysticism out of everything, right? What this process is shining those Aquarian lights on all things that have been in the dark, right? So, and then here, y'all tell me what y'all think this image in our reality is right here. So, I mean, here I see a turkey, I also see a turkey, right? I'm not suggesting anything when I say that. I'm just speaking on what it is that I see based on my eyes, right? What I see. So just because I say what I see, that doesn't necessarily, I'm not saying that to be nefarious or to point the finger or do anything like that, right? It's not in my character at all. So here, like I was saying, the 8-pointed star is, the inspiration for the Christmas tree. So here I'm showing you that. And then here, these are, so y'all know that image. So if you do a Google search, so not a Google search, rewind, take that back, an internet search. I'm not promoting anyone. That was not a promotion, right? So if you do an internet search, um, and you look for Masonic stairs, right? Well, no, so not this one. I'm jumping ahead. So, I mean, this can be seen as such, right? However, depending on the perspective that you choose to see it as. However, this kind of looked like a stadium. So remember, like in high school, the stadium, the bleachers, right? So when I see this, I think of the bleachers in the school. I also see the stadium within the schools, right? If I'm saying that correctly, that stadium where everybody is sitting out in the audience, and then there's that stadium, that platform where like people are standing when they're either performing or talking or presenting. So I think of that when I see this, right? And so this image here was drawn out by taking basically two sides, or taking the eight-pointed star and kind of expanding the view out. So, and what I also see is, you know, for those who have eyes to see. So I see like, so this can be seen as like a V, right? Right here. And then what I also see here is um, a W, right? So if you think about that one character, not character, but how would you refer to it? Uh, uh, Hold on. Okay, so think of a legendary comic book superhero, a woman with an invisible jet. You see where I'm going? So, and then here, this right here would be so if you did do an internet search for the Masonic stairs, this would be it right here. And so as you can see here, the star would be the platform for the stairs. And so so by seeing it that way, you can see why it would start here at the bottom, and then you would have these stages where people kind of go up based on their Masonic degrees or whatnot. So, and so you can see why those that are at the top will be standing at the top, right? Because it would be the pinnacle. The pinnacle of what though? We see what that is. And then here is so on the right side is a cube. So you can see here how the eight-pointed star is the inspiration for the cube. So you can only imagine. So right here, if this was a cube, you can only imagine all things that's happening inside of that cube, right? So when you look at a black cube here, imagine what that is, the inside of it. What is that to represent? It's all about intention, right? We can see something as one thing, but then someone else with some knowledge can see it as something else. And then with that being their understanding, it can be presented to you as one thing, but then they're aware that the use or the presentation is for something entirely different. So now when you kind of see it, so with understanding, with information comes understanding. And with understanding, you can kind of again move out of that spookism, that mysticism of everything, and you can kind of then be, try to you can gain some kind of foothold, right? You can kind of say, okay, I kind of see what this is. I know what this is, or at least I have a starting point, right? And then here on this slide, I'm showing here. So here's a star, and in here you can see these symbols. So a lot of these symbols are associated with religious, um, Maybe make sure I'm saying the right word. Okay, so these symbols right here would be associated with religions, right? And so, so these can be seen as religious symbols. And so what I'm showing you here is how each and every one of these symbols is the eight-pointed star can be seen as the inspiration. So here, this one is pretty obvious. You have the circle here, so the circle in the middle, and then the line going down, and then the line horizontal going across. And then this one here is the Dharma wheel. if I'm not mistaken. This one here is the Celtic cross, I think, and then this one right here is the Dharma wheel. So it's 8 points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or eight sides. So here you see you have the 8 sides here. And then this one right here is the Jewish star, I believe it is, or I think it is. And so you can also see that here. So you won't see that here based on or the face that I'm showing you here, the 6 pointed star. So this would be a 6 pointed star, right? So this 6 pointed star would be drawn out. So you would see that here. So you would literally have to kind of turn it on its point to be able to see that 6 pointed star because it's more uh, in the corner and coming out, right? And then here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 6 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, 2, 3. That's like six. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah. And then here is the OK. And so here you can see it in here. You see the O here, and then you can see the K here, right there. So the 8 pointed star would be the inspiration for that. And then this symbol is, we know it to be like the peace symbol. And then we also know it to be um, the symbol for a certain car maker. So, and then here we have the cross. So that one is pretty obvious, right? Right there. And then here is our standard envelope, right? So here's the 8 pointed star is the inspiration for what we know to be envelopes. And then here in the first video, I meant to include the Roman numerals, and so I'm including them here. So the 8 pointed star is the inspiration for the Roman numerals. And then here, what I'm showing you is the separated parts of the star. So there would be four of these shapes right here, this triangle, and then one of this cross here, one X, and then one square, at least when it's separated apart. And then you have this sign. So you know how these two right here is that fast forward, that play and fast forward, right? So when I see this, I automatically think of like a walkie-talkie or like a handheld or something like that. And then this would be your up and down, right? And so of course you can see all of that on a star, but of course you can because this right here, these separated parts is the star when it's broken up into its equal but separated parts. And then here, what I'm showing you is when those parts are kind of put back together. So when these parts are put back together, again, here's the 8 pointed star, and then the cross. So the cross right here, or what can be called by a cross, right, or a plus sign, or crossroads, right? So this right here is this right here, right? This shape right here down and across. And then the X right here is right here. So when those two parts come together, it 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 draws out the image that you see there. And then this one right here is based on these triangles. So 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. So when these parts come together, it creates the image that you see there. And then these two is based on this square here and this square here. And so when these two parts come together, you can see the image that is drawn out there. And then this image here is based on these parts here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so when these parts come together, these four parts, it draws the image that you see there. So when I saw that, the first thing that came to my mind would be the cards, the club, the spade, and the diamond and the heart. So I'm not sure if you can see what I see, but from what I see, I'll just point it out. So here I see this would be the uh, the heart, right? So based on this shape right here, right? And then this would be the diamond right here. And then this would be the club right here. And then the spade, I just kind of figured, okay, this could also be the spade just kind of upside down. So this would be its foot, right? And then it would just kind of come out like that right there. So that's what I see. So I just kind of wanted to show that there. And then here is the disconnected pyramid, right? We know where we see this at. We see it referenced in many places, right? So this is the disconnected crown or the pinnacle of the pyramid. So even when you see it like that, that means that someone intentionally drew it out like that. So intention lies behind that kind of action, right? And so in this image, what I'm showing you is me putting that crown back on. So I've reached the end of my presentation. If you enjoyed, thank you. Well, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will meet with you at the next video. Bye.